Actually, we were at like $750,000, but there were certain things we learned from launching a product and getting no sales to running an event where we're making $300,000, $500,000 in a week.
Welcome to the Creators Adventure, where we interview creators from around the world hearing their stories about growing a business. Today we're going to talk about the power of running challenges and live virtual events for your audience. Hey everyone, I'm Brian McAnulty, the founder of Heights Platform. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, we're here today with Michael Tucker. He is the CEO and founder of The Funnel Pros. He has established himself as a virtual event guru, empowering online entrepreneurs to spread their global message via virtual stages. Michael has helped over 75 coaches generate more than 35 million in revenue and collected hundreds of thousands of leads for his clients, some including Nemaya Davis, Marvin Mitchell, Stormy Wellington, and more. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. So pumped and excited to be here and add value. Thanks for having me.
So what would you say is the biggest thing that either that you have done or you are doing that has helped you to achieve the freedom to do what you enjoy?
Man, that's a great question. And when you say freedom, freedom means a lot of things to a lot of people. If I was to go back, if I was to go back about 5 or 6 years ago, dude, I was living. Is it okay if I tell stories? I like telling stories.
Yes,
Is that
please.
cool with you?
That's what I want. Yeah.
All right, awesome. So I just want to make sure. So I going back like 5 or 6 years ago, I was not where I was today. Our business was not. Actually, I just graduated college and I just gotten married, and my wife and I spent all of our money on a honeymoon in Bali. Came back, didn't have anything. And so I was working as a part-time restaurant server and making nothing, man, making $20,000, $30,000 a year. And as you know, that's barely enough to get by, especially when you're married. And so I had a mentor and a friend of mine, and he was like, hey, I want to teach you real estate. I want to teach. And I was like, real estate? Do you know who you're talking to? I don't have any money. And he said, well, I'm gonna teach you. I'm starting this coaching program. So some of you all here, you know, you're coaches, course creators. He was starting his course in his coaching business. And he said, I have this coaching program I'm rolling out. I would love to bring you in and like just help you. And I said, well, dude, again, I don't have money to spend on your course. And he said, well, let's figure something out. I said, well, I know a little bit about how to make websites. I've done it for a little while. I've kind of helped, you know, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, just, you know, build some Facebook pages. Like I know a little bit about digital stuff. I said, how about we barter? I'll build out your funnels. So give me access to your ClickFunnels. I'll build out your funnels and you teach me real estate. And that was the journey on my way to freedom, like we're talking about today. And so from there, we took actually David, which was my real estate mentor at the time. We took his real estate coaching business to 7 figures in less than 12 months from scratch. And now here's the deal. David didn't have a big email list, a big social media following. He didn't spend money on ads. And we did that. And so it was mind blowing what we were able to do. And so some of the techniques that we used were virtual stages and virtual events to blow up his business and blow up his audience in 12 months. And yeah, man. So virtual events is like the key thing that I say, like for me right now, has provided me the lifestyle I'm able to have. But then also, you know, all my clients that work with us, the same thing. They're using virtual events to really propel themselves forward in their coaching business.
Awesome. Yeah, I like how you touched on like trying to figure out everything related to money, like after getting married and all of that. And maybe I'm going a little bit off topic, but I think it's really interesting that like the way that the world works is pretty difficult because everybody is in school and everybody has to get a job. And like the in-between point of like figuring out a job, starting a family, all of that, the time when you like need to spend the most money is when you have the least. And like
Right.
yeah, start a family,
Exactly.
buy a house, get married, all the and going to school. Maybe you have debt from school. You have all this coming in that you have to spend money on, and you probably have the least. So there's a lot to figure out there, and it's interesting to see how people like yourself approach that in being resourceful and saying like, okay, well, how can I barter my services in exchange to be able to learn something without having to directly have this money to be able to invest in it.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, like, you're only limited by your own creativity, right? You're only limited by your own creativity. And so many people, they hit a brick wall or they hit an obstacle and they don't even give themselves time to get creative. Like take some time, think about that obstacle, think about the brick wall you just hit. How can we climb over it? How can we bust through it? How can we go around it? How can we dig under? Right. And so that was me. And I've done that several times since then, is just like, hey, how can I make this work? And so recently, actually, I had another friend who has a coaching program. I was like, I want in their coaching program. So I was like, how can I get in? I'm going to be honest. This is a big investment, like big investment. You know, some of these coaching programs are like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So I was like, how can I get in without hurting our business cash flow? And so I bartered, right? And I got creative and figured out a way to jump in. So definitely could be something that some people need to hear on here is like, hey, don't give up, don't back away, just find a way to get creative.
Yeah. I mean, especially as an entrepreneur, like when you already have a business, now you've got this service, this product, and something that you can exchange. And
Yep,
it's usually worth it to both parties involved. If you have something that that person's looking for, that they rather exchange
exactly.
their service than pay you for it as well. So,
And sometimes the other people on the other end, the other person on the other end doesn't know they need it until you show them they need it. Right. And so for me, David, he didn't know he needed help with funnels. He didn't know he needed help with all this marketing until I pointed out and I said, hey, I don't have money, but I know if you want to grow this to a 7-figure business and you want to take this next level, you can't do this alone. You don't know how to do automations. You don't know how to do XYZ. So I pointed out the pain and then provided the solution. And because of that, he accepted it. Right. And so since then, dude, it's been a big whirlwind since like going back. I remember when we first launched, it was horrible. I don't, maybe some of you all listening right here, you ever just launch a product and it flops like massively? I'm sure, Brian, you've been there, bro. Like it's just, it's
definitely,
just
yeah.
horrible. So, and that was us. We actually, when we first got out of the gate, we launched his first coaching program launched and it sucked. I remember I was actually working part-time as a youth minister as well. And I was living in a church parsonage. And so I remember one night, it was like a Friday evening. We just prepared for this big launch. And I was sitting in the dark at the kitchen table of our church parsonage, laptop screen on my eyes. And I was sitting there, we hitting send on those emails, hitting send on those posts and those text messages that were going to go out for our big launch. And I kept hitting refresh and ClickFunnels, refresh, or whatever software we're using at the time, and nothing was coming in. So it wasn't always like, well, it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. Our first launch flopped, and I don't think we made anything. And so it's just a continuous learning process, getting creative, like we talked about just a second ago, just continuously learning. And what I tell people all the time is you learn something, you test it, you tweak it, and you repeat the process. So you learn something, you test it to see how it works or if it works, you tweak the process, and then you repeat it all. And so that's what we did from the very jump.
Awesome. Yeah. I think there's something to be said for those listening that it's easy, like all these entrepreneurs hear about, okay, you got to do this big launch. And then they put everything into that and like not only their effort, but also like their mindset and thinking like this has to work. This is going to be huge. And the reality is like a lot of times it's not. And the other part of that is that even if it is what you kind of want it to be, like that's just one time. So what about the whole rest of your business? So most of business is all of the things that you're continuously doing
Mm,
over and over again. And like you don't like there's never going to be in any business like the one thing that they did and then that was it. They never had to market again, right?
right.
There's always things you have to keep doing. So don't worry too much about that one launch. Anyway, I want to hear more about these virtual events. So you help coaches create these virtual events, attracting clients. Can you kind of give an overview, like what's the key steps involved in mapping out an event like this, like from start to execution?
Yeah, 100%. Let's do that. And I think we can go super deep in this. So I'm not going to go super in depth, but I'm going to try to give you enough where you all listening right now or watching can take massive action. But I need to start from the very beginning when David and I we were launching that first product and it flopped. We actually got mentored after that. And so what happened was we I was sitting there at church parsonage. We hit send on all the emails, send on all the text messages, waiting for all the cash to come in, and nothing came in. And we were like, shoot, we did what we thought we were supposed to do and it didn't work. And so we went back to the drawing board. We got mentors. Actually, one of our mutual friends reached out and was like, hey, I love what you guys are doing. I think there's a better way though. I think what you guys need to do is something called an online challenge. A lot of you all listening right now, you probably heard of online challenge model. You've seen Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Russell Brunson. A lot of these people are doing that. Well, we heard about this way before Russell Brunson and all them were starting using them. We heard it from the source. I don't know if you know Pedro Adeo, but it was his team that reached out to us like, we're just tapping into these things called online challenges. And you need to use them. And if you're here and you've never heard of the online challenge model, you're going to be blown away today with what we teach. But so we sat down. Oh, let me back up. We sat down in Zoom with him for an hour, learned this 5-day model. Within a month, we launched our first 5-day challenge, and we made like $30,000 that first event. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how good this works if you're consistent. $30,000 for me, that was what I made in a year. So my mind was blown. For me to see $30,000 come in a week, I was like, I had to work hours and hours and hours, weeks and weeks, months and months for that. And so my mind was expanded. So we said, hey, what do? We learn something, we test it, we tweak and repeat, right? And so that's what we did. We were like, oh, we made 30,000. I bet we can go and make more. Guess what? We ran it back. See, that most people, what they do is they never even take action in the first place on these kind of events and marketing strategies because they say, oh, I need to have every email sequence correct. I need to have every automation done, every funnel, like just go run the play. Now you need to have some things in place, right, to make it work. But we just ran the play. And so the second one, man, it was crazy. I think we made for the second one right over 6 figures, the second one within like 2 or 3 months later. Third one, ran it back again. We made like 250,000. Fourth one, we made like 300. I can't remember. In all, like within that 12 months, I think it was like within 8 or 10 months, actually, we were at like $750,000 total combined. And then, he went on, David did some other things to help push his sales. But there were certain things we learned from launching a product and getting no sales to running an event where we're making $300,000, $500,000 in a week. And so here's a few things for some of you guys that are like, I want that. I want those results. One, just know like our guy Brian here said is like, it's not going to happen overnight. Your first event, your first virtual event that you run, it may flop. And that's cool. Or you may make $10,000. But no, it's getting better and better, practicing and getting, because most of this is just your belief system, how you talk to your audience. It's like, it's a whole learning experience. So know that it's going,
I like
you're
what you said there with the run the play, right? Because like, no matter how long you spend like perfecting all your email automations and everything like that, as you were saying, like when you actually go and do it for the first time, there's going to be all these things you realize you missed, even though you're sitting there like thinking like, oh, this is perfect. And so often it's better just to do it, find out about those other things that you weren't even thinking of, and then do the next one better. Because as I was saying in the beginning, like you're not going to do it once. You're going to keep doing whatever it is. So
exactly, man. Exactly. And so, that's one thing before we get into any deep details is like something I would just say is like, hey, commit to this for long term, right? That's a whole nother story on why I wear the commit conquer shirt is because like, that's part of my story. You just got to commit to it. But yeah, so whenever we start building these out, we were like, there's really a few core areas to building out a good virtual event. And today we're going to talk about online challenges for a little bit because that's what I know best. And we actually have an agency where that's all we do. We run, now you can run free challenges. And for everybody that's wondering what a challenge is, it's a virtual event designed to push your audience in a direction you want them to go, which ultimately they want to go as well. So for example, if you are a health coach, you may want to run a challenge helping and pushing people to lose 10 pounds in 5 days or 7 days. I don't know what, I'm not in that industry, so I don't know what's reasonable. But or you may be a real estate coach and you may say, hey, I'm going to run a challenge, a virtual event where we push people to find their first property in the next 30 days, whatever that may be, right? And so for us, it's just a strategically built out event where you're challenging your audience, you're challenging your attendees to get out of their comfort zone and take action towards a certain goal. And that's why challenges work so well versus webinars and workshops and master classes, which I love because we use those as well. And I maybe give you some tips on how you can combine the two. But The master classes, the problem is like you can only build trust with people for an hour, 90 minutes. But with the challenge, how we design them, they're like 3 day events, 5 day events. Five is our sweet number. So if you're listening here and you're like, you want to run a challenge, I say start with a 5 day challenge. Don't do like a 7 or 14 day challenge. Don't start with like a 3. I like the 5 because it gives just enough time for you to build rapport with people. And so
And
that's
also,
what a
I would
challenge
say
is.
like to as opposed to maybe the very very long ones, like a 30-day challenge or a year-long challenge, like that this kind of situation, that's something kind of completely different. And I think you need maybe more experience with it to get the best result of getting people
Yeah.
engaged
And
with
most
something
people,
like
it's like
longer.
too much to bite off,
Yeah,
right? It's like, I don't want you going to have to commit something for 14 days or 10 days or 20, 30 days when you're just starting out. And so that's what we did. We started out with 5 day challenges. And so it's just 5 day virtual event. You're not going live for 5 days straight, like 24 hours a day. We normally do an hour to 2 hours a day for 5 days straight. And you can do these free or paid. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But the first thing we do is when we're building these out, we ask ourselves, okay, how can we design this event for conducive growth? How can we build, like, design this from the ground up to be optimized, maximized for the people on the other end? So whenever you're building out a 5 day challenge, what I tell people to do is just ask, where is my client now and where do they want to go? So Brian, where is your client at right now? And where is their end result? Where is their dream destination? I call it.
yeah,
What you can do is use the 5 days that you spend with them, use that 5 days to get them closer to their dream destination, right? So let's say you do have a client that wants to lose 50 pounds. They're not going to probably lose 50 pounds in a week, but you can get them closer there.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's go to the real estate example because that's what you kind of know best, right? Because I think what you hinted at there is you're getting them to that result, but you're figuring what's the result we can get them in 5 days that
Yep.
now like they're happy, they got something what they were looking for. And it's not the end all be all. Like in your
Right.
example, it was like they find the property, but then they still have to buy it, they have to close on it
Right.
and everything thereon. And like that's when you can sell your flagship coaching, your course and everything with that challenge,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. So what we do is, we break down those 5 days that you're with them and help them get closer to their dream destination, like the real estate example, right? And so it may be that they want to get their first rental property, right? And so what we do is we ask, okay, what content do we need to include in the course of 5 days? Now, if you're a professional in your field, you're not going to be able to teach everything you know in 5 days. If you can teach everything you know, I should say 5 days, but in like 5 hours, you need to go learn more stuff. And that may be, I heard Alex Hormozy say that recently, is like, if you're worried about giving away all your stuff, you probably need to go learn more. And that's not saying it in a bad way, but like we structure these pretty strategically as well, which I'll give the 5 day breakdown in just a bit. But we ask, what can we include in those 5 days to really get them closer to their goal? And so, like we said, for a rental property, it may be, hey, day one is, we're going to talk about how to think like an investor because you have to look at numbers and think differently. Hey, day two, we're going to talk about how to build a team, right? Hey, day three, we're going to talk about how to analyze a property. And so you kind of take them through this journey. By the end of the 5 days that you spend with them, they're like drooling over what you have to offer because they're like, man, I just made more progress this week than I've made in years trying to do this by myself. And so what I love about these 5 day challenges, not only do you get to build a lot of rapport, you build a community at the same time because they're all taking action together. And so that's step one, is we just map it all out and ask, how can we make this like the most amazing event and help try to get people to results before even going and marketing it and going and trying to actually run the event. We just got to figure out what we're going to teach and how we're going to build out this thing. And so there's a bunch of other questions and things we ask, but does that make sense, man? Like kind of just building out the vision for the event.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a fan of challenges as well. We've got a challenges feature inside Heights platform. So I'm gonna try to stay a little bit reserved and not make this episode too much like we're both just promoting how amazing challenges
Hey,
are.
no, I would love to hear what
But
you've been
like,
learning, man, because
yeah. So,
I
well,
know
what I
you've
would
ran
add to
challenges.
all of
I've been running
that,
challenges. So
yeah, what I would add to all of that is, and you mentioned it a little bit, is that not only like are you getting them from like the point A to point B of like this first result, and like this is a great marketing tool, but it's also something that we found is a really great engagement tool because like for course creators specifically, Like everybody talks about the problem of somebody signs up for your course and then they don't do anything. Even courses that are more expensive and like making the course more expensive, maybe that helps a little bit because the person's like, wow, I just spent $1,000 on this. I better get value from it. But still, like nobody's built up like that mechanism of suddenly saying like, okay, I'm suddenly doing this course. There's no habit really there. So we found that challenges are also not only good for your marketing, but good to like kickstart that engagement. Because you have
On like the
somebody, you say,
fulfillment,
okay,
on
we're
like
going
the
to do this.
fulfillment side, right?
Exactly. So like we're going to do this 5 days, and the person goes there, they go into it because they know like I have to do it now. It's live. Like I'm going to miss it if I don't. So they get this kind of bite-sized info for 5 days in a row, and now they get that offer to buy your course, your coaching program. They go into the course, and now they've already built this habit of engaging with it. They know how to get there. They know what it is, and now they doing a lesson every single day is not a big deal for them anymore. So
Right.
your challenge is actually helping them not only get to that first result, but also engage better with your content.
Love it. And you can shoot, man. There's we can get super deep in this, and so everything you said is 100% right. Really helps with engagement. And so, like, I tell people, because people ask me all the time, like, okay, I know I got to build it out, but should I do like a paid challenge or can I do a free challenge? I think it depends on you and your audience. Just to give you guys a little perspective, we do free if like somebody's just starting out, they don't really have a big list. Like we just want to start collecting leads because leads are the lifeblood of your business, right? And so we just do free. Now, if you're somebody that has 20,000, 30,000 followers or more, like 50,000 followers or more, you have a decent email list, like maybe jump in and do the paid challenge, right? It could be a thing where you get higher quality leads, right? Because we're seeing right now with our paid challenges, like we close anywhere between 15 to 20% average of anybody who buys a ticket. So if you get 100 people to buy a ticket, you could close 15 to 20 of them into some kind of program. And we've sold programs ranging from $5,000 all the way up to $75,000 on these events. And so we kind of tell people free if you're just starting out, you're just building your list, but then paid, if you have, could be a great resource. Like we're running paid challenges right now with 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 registrants about once a month. And so definitely a more advanced model though.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think like for those listening, if this is all like completely new to you, the idea of the paid challenge is not like for it to make you money directly, but to do two things. One is it's showing you like who is a potential buyer already. So like they spent money on your challenge, they're more likely to spend money with something else as opposed to people who just only want things for free. And then number two is the small amount of money that you charge for it is something that's going to help you cover ads and everything so you can promote it and
Exactly.
grow it bigger. So it's not meant to be like this is your flagship product of where you're going to make all the money, but it's going to help you funnel people into that flagship product, whatever it is.
Love it. Exactly. And so that kind of leads us to, we can have a conversation about marketing, right? So you build out the mechanism, you kind of know what you're doing. Hey, in 5 days, I'm going to teach, 9 to 5 employees how to invest in real estate passively, right? You can build that out. We could talk about funnels and systems for days. That's not what we're here for. But now that you have the event and you know what you're going to teach them, how do you get people in the room, right? And that's the biggest thing people struggle with, right? Is like, how do I get people to show up, not only show up, but show up for 5 days in a row? And how can we get as many people in the room as possible? And this is what we had to think about with David, man. Like we were just starting out. David only had a few hundred friends on Facebook, and he only had a few hundred people on Instagram and no email list. And so the first one was really small. We made 20 or 30, I think it was like 28, $30,000 off of that first one, but it was just to his organic list. So if you guys are here and you're just starting out, just do it to your organic list. Like do a free challenge, get some momentum, go ahead and just run it. But what we learned was after that first one, we tapped out. We banged his whole social media. We hit up everybody we could. And so now where do we go? And what we discovered, it's not secret because people are using it all the time, but this platform that only few are utilizing correctly changed the game for us. And it was using other people's audiences. So we made that $30,000, and immediately we went to another friend who was a coach who had an industry that coincided with ours pretty well. He was in the wealth industry, so like teaching people financial literacy. So real estate, financial literacy, you see how they kind of come together.
Yep.
And so we said, hey, you have this audience. You have this audience of like 30,000, 40,000 people on your email list. You have a Facebook community of 5 or 10,000 people. Let's run a joint challenge together. We just did it. This is our results. We made $30,000 in 5 days. How about we do it? You have a bigger audience than us. We can make more, and we'll split it 50-50. And that's what we did. We turned around. That guy, just so you know, who we partnered with, he did nothing other than send out a couple emails and show up for 5 minutes on our challenge. He showed up to transfer authority to us and be like, hey, welcome everybody. This is my good friend, David. Here's the mic, David. And that was it. And that literally led to hundreds of thousands of dollars just through that one relationship. And so for some of you all here wondering, how can I fill up my webinars, my challenges? Like, let's learn to utilize all the hard work that other people have already put in place. And
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
like
sure you
this
guys
one
have been doing
because
that in your business, but that's been key for us, man.
yeah, that's a great one because there's so many creators who they think like, okay, I've done a couple things for this free marketing, like I've created stuff on social media, I've started building an email list, and then they immediately want to jump to like, okay, paid advertising. Like that's the next thing I do. And especially over the last few years, like all of that has gotten way more expensive. There's way
Wait,
more competition related to it. So like you'll probably notice, like I don't know, depending on those watching, like how long you've been paying attention to this space. Like a few years ago, there's all these people like running webinars and everything, telling you how like this is how you use ads and make money with your course and everything. You don't see that anymore, right? And so it's gotten harder. But the thing that people miss out on is like what you're saying, these partnership ideas where you can use somebody else's audience. And like we found great success in doing that kind of thing ourselves. So I can definitely attest to that. But this is so powerful because it's free. So you don't have to
yep.
pay for it. And it's the issue is, I guess, like some creators think like, okay, well, how can I better leverage what I'm doing and get better exposure? And so then you jump to ads, but there's other ways to do that, like the partnerships.
Yeah, exactly. Partnerships. And so that's actually when with David and all of our other challenges that we run now is like partnerships are super key. And so from that one relationship we built, he went to another because we were like, hey, these financial and wealth coaches, like people that are teaching budgeting, people like that's a great niche. And so he had another friend that kind of did something similar. He was a financial advisor and he financial advisor that had a little following, nothing crazy, just like a listen, all you need is a group of like 100 to 200 super fans. And that's what this guy had was like just a couple hundred people that were super fans. And so we went together and was like, hey, I know you have this super small community. They would really benefit for what we're about to teach. How about we do an event? And he just did that over and over and over again. And he still does it to this day. Like last month, we did the same thing. And we didn't make a whole lot of money, but $80,000, right? I was like, hey, $80,000 isn't that bad, right? So for you guys, a question I would like to ask is, who can you partner with today to help take your results to the next level? And don't overcomplicate this. Don't overthink this because so many times we say, well, this person, I don't know if they would do it with me. Like some people will go all in and partner with you 100%. Like they'll go live with you. They'll go on podcasts with you. They'll send out 10 emails. There's some they'll do it. They'll just send out one email to the list. Like every person's going to be different. So when it comes to building out partnerships, I tell people there's no one cookie cutter approach to it. We like doing the 50-50 model. Like if they're going to be pretty in tune, like 50-50, like you're going to help promote this quite a bit to your list, but everybody's different. Every partner is different. Some people will just say, hey, I just want to go on IG live with you. That's all. Hey, I want to just send out a text to my list. That's it. So you get to custom craft those and really build a relationship around it. So one thing I encourage people is like, especially if you're currently running events right now, just start building relationships first, adding value to people, and then go for the ask later. And the ask doesn't have to be anything super scary. It could just simply be, hey, I have this vision for this event. And actually, this is what I did last December. I'll give you guys an example in just a second, but just go with them and say, hey, I have this vision for this event. This is what I'm thinking. Worst case scenario, we grow our community. That's the worst case scenario in these things is you grow your community. And most of the time they'll say yes if you pitch it the right way. And so I would love to hear your thoughts, man, on anything else you've learned from, building out partnerships yourself.
Yeah, so I think a common, like, maybe irrational fear that I hear from our creators related to this is that they tend to think of like all these people who could be potential partners as their competitors. And they say like, oh,
Mm,
well, they're in a similar space, but like if you think about it, like they're probably not selling the same product. It's something a little bit different. And like you mentioned, like, okay, financial services and real estate. And so like there's a lot of potential cases right now where if you're listening to this, you might be thinking of somebody as a competitor to you where they actually could really complement what you're doing. So like I'm trying to think of another good example, but like even like in the digital marketing space, like you could say like, oh, well, these two people, like I'm selling a digital marketing related course and this other person is too. But like maybe yours is related to, I don't know, like live events and like doing all this. And the other person, maybe they're more teaching about like writing or something. So it's a
right.
different skill set. Like you need to learn both. And like the audiences would be interested in both. So
And
there's a lot of potential there.
most of the time, if done correctly, the audience will actually thank you. So let's
Hmm.
say, Brian, I know you guys are big into AI and things like that, right? And so let's say we joined, like I brought my audience to you and teach them about AI. Like if you're the right partner, if you do what you actually are supposed to do, my audience will probably come back to me and say, Michael, that Brian dude, what they got going on there changed my life. Like it's awesome. And so that's probably even going to help your status and help your credibility because when you can partner with good people, don't just partner with anybody, partner with people you can see yourself doing business long term with. It can help your credibility, help your rapport, and just help you overall.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I like the idea also about like finding these different partners and like not being afraid to reach out to them and just see what's going to happen, realizing that different partnerships are going to work a little bit differently. Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of things here, but do you have any recommendations for somebody as far as like how should they handle it with one partner maybe is not like wants to do it but is not planning to engage quite as much as you'd maybe like them to?
Yeah, and so I'll give you an example because back in December, I ran a virtual event for myself. I have this, I love self development, leadership. And so, like, that's not where I live, though, like in my business world. My business world is digital marketing, live events. And so I was like, you know what? I just want to run an event and try to see what I can do. And so we built out this event. It was all based around helping you, like, goal setting, things of that nature. And so I just went on the hunt building out partnerships. And so I sent these customized videos. I don't know if you guys know Pete Vargas. Pete Vargas is big in like the physical and virtual stages world, and he teaches how to do these first impression videos and these reach out videos. And so I started doing that, right? And so I started realizing that some people, like I mentioned, some of them weren't too serious. They were just going to do it just to help me out. And so you had to figure out, this is your business. This is how I feel anyway. It's your business. It's your virtual event. You get to decide if you go move forward with those people. So there was a couple people like I started a conversation with them. I just was like, you know what, this probably isn't going to fit because if you're not going to be passionate about this event, you're not going to be passionate about this to your audience. It's probably not going to be good if you're just doing it just because. Probably not going to be a good fit. So you get to choose. And so if you talk to somebody and they're not fully sold, it's okay. Like let it go. Keep building that relationship. Don't just drop the relationship because they're not fully bought in. Keep growing your business. Keep doing what you're doing, and then maybe one day they'll go back and be like, wow, they're really changing some lives. They're really helping some people. I got to tap in with what they're doing. And so I always tell people, like, don't get hurt. If people say no, or maybe next time, just keep pushing because there's people out there that would love to partner with you and would love for you to share your knowledge with their audience. And you just got to find the right people and just go out there, make some connections, build some value, and you'll be surprised what happens when you start doing these reach outs.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I can give an example like just recently about how like it's better to think of this as a long-term thing and those relationships like it may not happen the first time that you contact them. And so for us recently we launched the Heights AI coach. We had this big launch around it. We planned beforehand like okay, we're going to reach out to some newsletters about AI that we've been following because it would be awesome if they mentioned us. And so we reached out to a bunch of them. We had a whole list ready for right before the launch and heard back from very few of them. Most of the ones that we did hear back from, all they said was, "Oh, great. So do you want to sponsor us? Like this is how much it's going to cost." And we
Right.
were kind of just looking for like somebody to talk about us for free. We're not trying to sponsor it just yet with that. And so basically, like the reach out didn't really do anything. Then when the launch actually happened, it turned out that we got mentioned by like the top three on our list of like some of the biggest newsletters, total audience of like more than 500,000 people, and all three of these big ones specifically mentioned us, and it was free. They didn't even reply to our emails. We hadn't heard from them, but we did enough and we kept going with it that eventually we got noticed. So the lesson for that kind of for us was like just be so good that like they have to notice you from other things
Right.
that we're doing. And yeah, like they may not respond to you that first time that you reach out to them. They may respond and like it doesn't really feel like the right fit. They're not really seeing you for what you are just yet. But yeah, as you said, like you keep going and build that relationship because and maybe it's not going to happen so like quick over like a couple week period like this, but maybe like next year, then they come back to you and they say, hey, you know what? Like I just realized what you're doing and this is really awesome. Like I kind of like glanced over it before, didn't really get it, but like I think this would be perfect. And then maybe they even are going to pitch you something, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And so lead with value first and just think like he said, just long-term value, like long-term play, long-term relationships. And so yeah, and it's going to be a learning experience for everybody. And so that's though like the other people's audiences is something that we've leveraged a lot. Now we do use paid marketing, right? We use paid marketing. We use depending on the size of the event, we'll definitely spend like we had one event where we spent like $500,000 on ads, right? But then we have some events where we spend like 5,000, 10,000, right? Or maybe a couple thousand, just depends on your audience and who you're serving. And so definitely like other marketing strategies, your organic list, your organic social media, other people's audiences directly like emails, text, their social media. But don't forget, there's other people's podcasts, there's other people's YouTube channels, there's other people's TV shows, like radio station. There's so many other ways you can leverage those. And then, you could do the same thing paid. So a lot of people don't think about this, Brian, is like you can partner with people to get on their Instagram live to get them to send out emails. You can pay to do the same as well. There's some people you can pay $1,000 for to get an email blast sent out to a list of 100,000, 200,000 people. All right. There's some people you can pay $1,000 to go live with and they got 50,000 followers on Instagram. So like, don't forget there's some paid to play like podcasts you can get on and things of that nature nobody thinks about, right? Because you ever seen somebody, you're like, how the world did they get on that podcast? I didn't know they were that big. They may have
Hmm.
paid, right? Because money talks. And so that's what a lot of our clients do, man. It's just like they pay to get in front of other people's audiences instead of doing the partnership.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And I mean, it's something that is way less of a learning curve than like trying to figure out Facebook ads or Google ads for the first time, right? It's easy to just continuously dump money into that, whereas a paid partnership in that sense, like you know that they have the exact audience that you want, and
Yeah.
like usually the rates are not that bad. It's usually something that can work out really well to do that because like I don't know, it depends on what the whole thing is. You have to evaluate every single case, I guess, but a lot of times people want to do the partnerships because they think it'll be better for them because they really believe they'll be able to earn more from it. And in the case of where you're paying people, it might be a worse deal for them where you're paying them. They might have made so much more money if they agreed to like a
Right.
revenue share instead. But like it works out for you as well that way. So,
Yeah, and so one little tip, like here's like a ninja trick. Like I'm just thinking like micro influencers. Like
mhm.
there's a lot of people that have 5,000, 10,000, 15, 20. I would say micro influencers like 20,000 below, maybe a little bit more, but like 10 or 20,000 people, like I hate to say this, but some of them don't know what their audience is worth, like the value that they can
Mm.
bring to people. And so like if they have 10 or 15,000 followers, like unless they're fake followers, but if they have truly like a loyal fan, that's a decent amount of people. And so you could go to those people and be like, hey, let's 500 bucks, 300 bucks, let's go live together, or hey, let's do a webinar together. So check this out. Something that we've been doing is using master classes to fill up our paid challenges. Okay, so we've been doing these free 1 hour classes. We'll partner with micro influencers, bigger influencers, run these, and at the end of the class we sell tickets to our paid challenge. And then of course, the end of the paid challenge, we're selling something high ticket. Some people can sell a course, but we sell high ticket products, 5,000 and above on our challenges. So You can even, like, all these people just do joint master classes, and then on the master classes sell tickets to your virtual events. We even do this for conferences too. So if you're running in-person conferences, same exact play. Partner with people, push them to a master class. At the end of the master class, sell a conference ticket. There's so many ways to skin a cat, and there's so many different ways to fill up your events, guys. Just get out there and figure out creative ways you can do it. If you have no audience, if you have an audience, definitely implement this right away, because this is going to blow up what you're doing already. But there's so many strategies. So one, you build the challenge, you build the virtual event. Two, you fill it. And then lastly, you just got to run the play. You got to run the event. And so, if you're cool with it, I can go into like this last part very fast, because I know we've been chatting a lot.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
building out the 5-day challenge or running it is,
Well, actually, yeah, I want you to go into that, but yeah, since we are running low on time, I also want to ask you just real quick as far as pricing. So we could talk about that probably forever as well, but what do you charge for your paid challenges now on average, and what do you recommend somebody? I know you said they should start with a free challenge, but once they start saying like, okay, well now I want to move to a paid challenge, what's like the price range they should target?
yeah. So free, what we normally do with our free events is we'll do a free general admission, and then we'll do like a $49 or 97 VIP. The difference is VIP, they get access to the 5 days of training, but they'll get like daily Q&As with me or with the coach. So if you're a real estate coach, you'd maybe spend 30 minutes a day answering any questions they have about the industry after that training session. So they're getting like an extra 3 to 5 hours of training with you for VIP price of $97 or 47 or 49. Normally we do 97 at the most, for the free, and then a free general admission ticket. We may throw in other stuff for the VIP, like ebooks or workbooks and all that fun stuff. On the paid challenge side of things, general admission is 97. So we started at $100 for that. Some people go lower, but we do 97. VIP, we do 297. So it's $300. And depending on the client and the audience, if we have a big pool of people we're going to be marketing to, because there's some people you realize they'll spend $1,000 if you have $1,000 product. They'll spend $2,000. Like, there's some people, they just love spending money with you, and that's who they are. And so if we have the right audience pool, we'll maybe throw in a third ticket and do like a platinum for 500. So 100, 300, 500. And so the differences between the VIP and platinum, VIP, they can attend and watch the Q&A sessions. Platinums are the only one that can ask their questions. And so we throw in some other stuff for platinums as well, like a platinum only networking night where they can come in Zoom and network with other people, like a private text thread or like a Telegram group. You can do it at a Facebook Messenger group for platinum only. Like, we give platinum some extra perks. So 100, 300, 500. Like I said, that's more for people that have a bigger audience, more experience, but definitely start out free and then have some kind of upsell, whether it's a VIP, whether you have a software, you can offer your software a free trial as a VIP, right? ClickFunnels, all these other platforms are doing that. They'll do free GA. Actually, I have a client right now we're doing this with, and it's working so well, man. They have a free general admission, and then we're upselling for free, a free trial of his software. And then they can come and attend all the VIP sessions for free, but they automatically get put in this monthly membership now. After 30 days, they're going to be billed $100, $200, whatever that is. And that's been working phenomenal for us. I think we have an event actually next week with him, and he's got like 800 people registered. And I think 100 people are on free trials now, just from that. So it's crazy,
Awesome.
man. You get me pumped up and excited about this stuff. I'll
Yeah.
go on and on and on for days.
Cool. All right. Well, was there a last thing that you wanted to cover before we wrap it up?
Yeah, real quick. I mean, yeah, you can get the people there, but if you don't know what to say, how to say, like, that's a whole process in itself, right? It's not just teaching, okay? So you build out the event, you know what the topic's gonna be, you get the people there, but then you actually have to make sure you're running that virtual event in a way that's conducive for not only their growth, but your sales, right? Your sales later on. And so what we teach people is a whole framework and process around helping them transform their belief, because most people come in, they don't believe they can invest in real estate. They don't believe they can lose 50 pounds in the next month to 2 months. They don't believe they can create their course in 7 days using AI, right? But they can, and you got to help them believe that. And so how you need to ask yourself, how can I transform not only their action habits, but their mindset through that 5 days. So we hit a lot on belief. So, day one from the start, we're talking about mindset, helping them reconfigure this up in their head, their brain in their head. And, we do that all through the day. And there's a whole nother process for how we run that. We intertwine mindset and teaching. And then, but yeah, just be conscious of that because we don't have much time to talk about it. Like reach out if you have any questions on that piece of the puzzle, but just make sure you're conscious of, you're not just hammering them with so much content that you're not helping them transform into the person they need to be to find the success that they need. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I think that is definitely an important part. All right, well, one of the things we like to do on the show is have every guest ask a question to the audience. So if you could ask our audience anything, whether it's something you want them to think about, something you're just curious about, what would that be?
Yeah, a question that I was actually thinking as we were going through this is, and this, it may be too broad. And so what would one successful virtual event, one successful 5 day challenge mean for you in your business right now? You've heard what we talked about with David, how David went from zero audience, $0 in sales. I was like his first student that I bartered with him with to making $750,000. What would that be worth to you in your business? And how can you implement it in the next 30 days? Everything we just discussed, what would it be worth to you? And how can you implement it in the next 30 days? I want you to create a plan around it. And I want you to go back to Brian, the whole team, and be like, I'm doing my challenge. I'm doing it right now, or I'm running my virtual event. And I want to
Yeah,
see you find some wins. So that'd be the question I ask my friend.
awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, and guys, definitely do what he says. Definitely reach out to us. I think not enough of our creators take advantage of that. Like we're willing to help you with questions related to your launch and not just the software. So email support@heightsplatform.com if you have questions. Also, get in touch with Michael here. So Michael, where else can people find you online?
Yeah, man. I'm on Instagram at official Michael Tucker. There's there. I'm on YouTube, the same place. We have a podcast there as well. But man, are you cool if I give out an ebook for people that kind of
Yeah,
like goes
yeah,
into
definitely.
this whole process? Okay, yeah. If you guys go to virtualstagesecrets.com, a full ebook, completely free, no sales there. You guys can just go get the book, virtualstagesecrets.com. And it has like kind of like master classes broke down, challenges broke down, and you guys can just read that. And everything we discussed is in depth there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much, Michael.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.